Bad news, Gonky. A tornado has damaged Wright-Patt Air Force Base in the museum.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a tornado roll through, and it damaged a bunch of, they had some Century Series fighters there. And I mean, good thing, but there was no, thankfully nobody got killed, but some of that, they're not building those planes anymore. Once they're gone, they're gone. Yeah, look at that, man. It really tore up that building.
Yeah. And from what I understand, see, go back to the email.
Have you been there? Have you ever been there?
Yes, it's a great place. An F-101 and T-33 were damaged. Were slated to be scrapped before the tornado.
Yeah. A-26 Invader, F-104, obviously, T-33.
Yeah.
There's a lot of damage, and that stuff is, if it's anything, I live down here in the Panhandle. We got the Naval Aviation Museum. A lot of times those airplanes are there on loan from different places.
Yeah, so and that's probably why those two were scheduled to be scrapped before. Oh, look, it says that right there, the T-33 trainer and stuff like that. But
there it is.
God, it just goes to show you how, precious our history is, and how, within moments it can all be gone. Right. We try to preserve these aircraft, preserve the history. And then the next thing you know, a natural disaster happens. And there's no warning. It's not like a hurricane where you can hurrivac them. Even if you could hurrivac them, I'm pretty sure that they're not in a condition you could move them. But what do you do?
You do your best, right? I remember a couple years ago at the Corvette Museum, the National Corvette Museum.
Oh, the sinkhole.
The sinkhole, man.
Sinkhole. I went there after. Doug and I went there after. Remember that, Doug?
Yeah, they wouldn't let us go down in the sinkhole.
Is it still there?
No. I want to say that there's a floor over it, but they have cars that were in it that they pulled out and left in their state that they were in the sinkhole. It's pretty awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, anytime, anytime, like, if, paintings or any kind of artwork, these were warplanes, but they're engineering art, right? At the time they were like cutting edge, and it's just, it's sad to see any kind of
the history,
artifacts from the past really be destroyed, because then like I can't take my kid there to see it, right? And seeing it on TV is one thing, but actually seeing it in person and being able to get up close and look at it, and like look in the cockpit and be like, man, people got in these things.
Well, it's like the SR-71. Like, you don't realize the size. It's smaller than you think. And you look at it and you're like, people got in this thing? Like, the cockpit is so cramped, especially in the back.
And the airplane is massive.
Yeah, but like you look at it and you're like, okay, it's this big airplane and then the small, tiny cockpit. And you're like, wow, dude, this thing, oh, wow. Yep. And then the space shuttle. Like, I went to the museum at Dulles at the airport when I went to a school last year, and the space shuttle is massive.
The cockpit?
No, just the airplane.
Oh,
the actual shuttle. It's in this open area. They wouldn't let you into the cockpit, but you just don't. You're right. You don't get that sense of it's not real unless you can touch it, kind of thing. And see it up close. And this is our heritage, but it's also, how many museums did you go to as a kid? This is what inspires the next generation.
Yeah.
And
air shows and museums.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Hopefully, hopefully they can rebuild, some of the, if they can repair the ones they can repair, but it's always a lot, and a lot of like a lot of the warbirds you see flying, a lot of it's volunteer, right? It's not really funded, right? So, and it becomes a cost issue, unfortunately. And sometimes it's like, we just have the money to bring this thing back.
Well, that reminds me of the AN-225, the Ukrainian. If not the last one, one of the last ones.
Yeah, I got blown up.
And the airstrike took it out, or the base attack, and so Microsoft Flight Sim made a module, and the funds from that module are going to try to rebuild this thing eventually. Whether it happens or not, I don't know.
Wow.
But that's, you're talking about the money piece. Like, there are creative ways they're trying to do it. Now, granted, this is a one of like, you know, 2.
Yeah.
I mean, there are not many.
Did you see the video of it? That thing is tore. I mean, that thing is tore up.
Yeah, but that versus the T-33, which there's still civilian T-33s flying around. You know, there's still F-100s and F-101. Like, some things are, the only way to get it back is to refurbish it, and some things are like, well, there's other ones that maybe can be donated. Like, if a T-38's in the museum, you can get another one. In fact, they're still flying, you know. But if it's something more rare, like an SR-71 or a space
XB-70, right?
Yeah. Or I mean, that's a good point. You know, some of these original,
they made like one
actual
or 2
historic, right? And it was, this is the one that was used on this date.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's not just the airplane, but it's the story behind it.
Oh, 100%.
You get to see kind of what they did. So
you go to the museum here in Pensacola, and it's like right next to the, you know, hey, this is a P-40 Warhawk, and then it's like, you know, this airplane was involved in the Battle of Umpty Freight, and you, like, you know, as a kid, man, you can just, I mean, even as an adult, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because you can just, you picture it. You picture that story. You picture kind of what that pilot must have gone through it. And I have more of an appreciation for it now than I did when I was a kid.
100%.
Right? When I was a kid, it's just, buttons, you know, flip the switch and all that stuff. But then now, having done it, you're like, I can picture it.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was like, just like in Baba Black Sheep, you know. I was like, you know. But now I realize there's actually a lot of horror and, you know, bad stuff going on. But yeah, you're right, man. It's sad.
Yeah.